Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast presented by DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use the promo code CHGO when you sign up. Luke Stuckmeyer, Ryan Herrera, Cody Delmendo with you on a Thursday off day for the Cubs. And guys, I would just say they need this off day. Desperately, they need this off day. 5 straight losses, 19-24, tied with the Reds in the division. And I just looked at it, and I honestly can't believe this. The Cardinals are a game and a half behind. That means the Cubs are a game and a half out of last place. Now, I know they're not that far out of first place, but to be a game and a half out of last place in this division, my first question we're going to talk about a lot of stuff in the podcast. How do you fix the bullpen? Who should be the closer? Can Nico save the offense? How do you fix the offense? What do you think about the series coming up? But my first question is the season slipping away?
That's not unfair to say. But it's not unfair to say, but it's also still very early, right? It's May 18th or what? They're 5 games back of first place, but also 3 out of the wild card. So while it's, slipping away in the sense that they're dropping games and a lot of them at the same time. It's very early in the season and some kind of turnaround. We'll get into that and how they can potentially turn something around. Maybe getting a couple guys back from injuries will help, but there is obviously time to, even if it is slipping away, there's obviously time to right the ship a little bit and start getting some more wins. And if you look at the schedule seems tough, but it as you said the other day, Luke, it's Major League Baseball. Every team is generally pretty tough. Even if the A's maybe not, but
right.
Every other team is it's Major League Baseball. Things happen. So I think they just have to. Well, obviously they just have to stop losing games, make some changes, do some things, get some more production, obviously out of that, or just some more effectiveness out of that bullpen because that's been a rough spot. And just like I said yesterday, just find ways to get the bullpen, the starting pitching, and the offense clicking at the same time. Because early in the season, when they were winning a lot of games, that's what was clicking. Was as all three they were doing it at the same time and winning games like that. And I think one of the silver linings, I guess, is even of last night, it was at least it wasn't a blowout, right? It was still a close game. They're in a lot of competitive games. The Twins, the 2 blowouts in Minnesota were the only real blowouts of the season that I can remember, really bad games. So they're in a lot of games. They just got to figure out a way to start winning them. But it is early.
I said to Luke before we went live that if yesterday was the worst part of my year 32, then that means things probably won't be so bad moving forward. So that's my silver lining going into today.
Look at a positive Delmendo at 32. All of a sudden he's turned a leaf. He's Captain Positive.
I needed this off day. I don't think anyone needed this off day more than me. Not to put myself on some pedestal, but I don't know if they played tonight, I don't know if I would have been able to sit there and watch it. Unless we were doing it for this podcast, of course. But we don't do shows on the weekend, so that's why I said that. But yeah, I think that they're 5 games under 500 now.
Yeah.
It's mid-May. Got Philly next. You look at the only thing that really that's keeping me up right now is, you look at some of these teams that spent a lot of money this off season, and a lot of them they're not really doing much better than the Cubs right now. And as much as they should have won yesterday, in those last 2 innings, you you could tell how much they miss Cody Bellinger. I don't know if that play to the plate goes differently if Bellinger's in center compared to Morel. I don't know. Just his bat in the lineup, even though they scored 6 runs yesterday, they also left 14 on base. Does him being in the lineup allow them to score more than 6 runs yesterday? Again, you score 6 runs, you should win the game. I'm just saying. But Cody Bellinger, we said at the beginning of the year that if this team was going to be anything, he was a guy that was going to be the big reason why they were anything. So, yeah, as much as I miss Nico, as much as I miss him at the top of the lineup, as much as I miss his defense at second, I personally miss Bellinger more, and you're seeing what this team is without Bellinger. I do think Nico's more of like the leader in all of that. Like he's forming into that guy at least. But as far as, production and experience and all that, I think you're really missing Cody Bellinger right now. And so I hope with having this off day, it allows him to be able to play tomorrow in Philadelphia. And, we'll see how things go, but I'm not, because of how a lot of these teams are right now. I mean, the Cubs are right there in the wild card. At the beginning of the year, we all kind of sat here and we're like, well, they could be in it in the division. The wild card's going to be tough. There's a lot of really good teams in the NL West and the NL East. And despite where the Cubs are right now, like they're right there in the wild card chase. So yeah, obviously, the Mets could really turn it on and the Padres could really turn it on. They should. They paid the amount of money to be able to, easily make the playoffs. But it's not like they're 10 games out. But yeah, they got to start winning games. And it starts tomorrow in Philly, and they need Stroman to give them a good start and get on the right path. Like Ryan said, yesterday's game was, it was close. They did everything right except for the bullpen at the very end. So if you get another quality start like you did yesterday and your offense shows up and, say Suzuki continues to hit like he's doing, when you add Bellinger and Nico into that, then I feel pretty good about it. It's right now, though, yeah, and I can't believe I'm saying it. The bullpen is the thing that's really alarming me a little bit because they're the ones who haven't been very good during this 5-game losing streak.
All right, we'll get to the bullpen in a second. I'm surprised Cody was that positive because the chat a little less positive this morning, and I'm not surprised at that. Christian A says, we stinks. The Godfather, Michael Collada, says, had a night to sleep on it.
We stinks.
And we still stinks. Barb says they're done. Start selling. Gary Ross says season is slowly starting to slip. Listen, I get all that. Here's some of the things that concern me. They're 8-18 since they swept the A's, the worst team in baseball. So since that gift on the schedule of playing the A's, which they took advantage of, they're 8-18. Remember, the Cardinals were off to their worst start in 50 plus years of baseball. They were 10-22, and now all of a sudden they're right on your heels. I believe it was MLB Network tweeted out today. It was really kind of scrolling through my Twitter feed, and it said, which team under 500 right now has the best chance of still making the playoffs, which, of course, being under 500 isn't that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things this early in the season because there's, 100-some games to play. But almost everybody on there was saying the Cardinals. Now, I don't know if that's because Cardinals Twitter was firing and they're just this super aggressive Twitter group, or if it's because everyone around baseball says what I read in that Twitter, this division's bad and the Cardinals are the most likely team to do it. Now, boy, they made up ground very, very fast. There's other teams that still could turn it around and do that. The Padres, the Phillies. There are other teams that you could see doing it. Is it disheartening that the Cardinals have closed the gap this quickly and probably are now once again the favorite to win this division? Like, do you see them as that? Even though they started 10-22, had the Cardinals already crept back into the conversation as the favorite to make the playoffs out of this division?
Yeah, I would say so, just because I don't trust Milwaukee.
Right.
And
I don't trust the Pirates.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even trust them. Their pitching still stinks, and they got to play the Dodgers this weekend, so we'll see. But they went to Boston last weekend. They were en route to lose 2 out of 3, and Kenley Jansen blew 2 saves. And then they had Milwaukee this week, and they played pretty well against Milwaukee. I'll give them credit there. And obviously they beat the Cubs 2 out of 3 last week. So you're seeing the pitching pitch a little bit better over this last week. I'll give them that. Will it be sustainable? I don't know. But their offense is the reason that I think that they could get back up to the top, because that's the one thing that you knew coming in this year that they had over anyone in this division from top to bottom. Like they have guys who can hit. I mean, they don't even have Tyler O'Neill right now, and they're still hitting. Like it's honestly unreal. They don't even have Jordan Walker on the roster. Their pitching is the one thing that told me that in my eyes going into the year was going to be the big question for them. And you've seen the bad. And just over the last week and a half or so, you've seen mediocre, I guess. And so will they be able to be mediocre starting pitching to get them to the promised land in this division? It's possible. It is. And also Nolan Arenado has started to heat up finally, because he started off really bad. So I hate saying it, but yeah, I mean, they're the favorites in this division for a reason. And if they play like they have the last week and a half, I don't see why they couldn't, because I just don't believe in Milwaukee. And I obviously am the Pirates outplayed everything that we expected, but they've hit a tough spot of their schedule, and they've shown that, yeah, they're not that great yet. And, you know, the Reds are scrappy, like I said they'd be this year. And then the Cubs, they're just going through this really tough stretch right now. I think the Cubs and Milwaukee have the best chance against a team like St. Louis, but yeah, I at this point, it's hard to not say that they won't just keep going and get back up to the top, because again, no one's running away with this. If you're 500 at the All-Star break in this division, all you got to do is get hot for a couple weeks and you'll win it. Right?
Yeah. I mean, the Cubs need to get themselves right. That's for sure, Ryan. And, you know, the bullpen is currently the most glaring spot. I think we all expected the offense to be a roller coaster ride this season. And we had hopes that if everything hit right, then the offense would carry them into the postseason. But we knew that the strength of the team would be pitching. Well, the starting pitching has been pretty good. What we didn't expect necessarily, everybody, at least I didn't, was that the bullpen would be, as Cody puts it, this mediocre or bad. Like it's been a rough stretch for the bullpen. So if you're trying to fix the bullpen, what's the first thing you're trying to fix? Is it trying to find the guys leading up to the closer, or is it trying to find a true closer? Which one do you think is more important in trying to fix the bullpen here?
I don't think they have a closer on the roster. I don't think they have a closer. So in that sense, they won't find a closer, because there's not going to be, there's no one on the team that stands out as like I talked about yesterday, that set it and forget it. You trust this guy to lock down the ninth every single game. If there's a save situation, you put him in the ninth and you trust him. Like, they don't really have that. I know there's guys there that Ross trusts in certain situations, and most of the guys in the bullpen have potential to be good, but they also have potential to be bad. And that's when I talk about the volatility of bullpens. That's what it is, right? Like, there's no one on the roster, and I don't think there's really anyone that they could bring in right now that's like gonna emerge as that ninth inning, trust him until he loses trust kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So just in that sense, like, you have to, I think the main thing is figuring out what these guys' roles are. I think David Ross is still trying to do that, and you can see by the bullpen usage and when some of these guys are coming in. I think if he's figured out Mark Leiter Jr. isn't the innings per se, but he's the pockets. If you have a couple of lefties coming up, especially when you know Yordan Alvarez, like yesterday, especially when you know Yordan Alvarez is going to be hitting third, and if any of those first two batters, even though they're righties, even if they get on, like, you're going to get Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker. So was the pocket that Mark Leiter Jr. So he's not. He doesn't use Mark Leiter Jr. as like an eighth inning guy, put him in there and go for it. Like, you got some pretty dangerous lefties coming up. You know, Mark Leiter Jr. succeeds against lefties. That's when he's going to use him. And he's figured that out. A lot of these guys, I think he's still trying to figure out what's the best situation to use them. What's the best pocket to use them. And, you know, some of these guys won't, like, I don't know that they'll have a they're not going to really have like a setup man, a guy that goes in for the hold every 6th or 7th inning, right? Like, they're not going to have, I don't think, like traditional set bullpen roles, but David Ross has to like kind of have that optimal bullpen structure where he knows where he trusts guys, what pockets he trusts them in. And that's just because that's how the bullpen has been made up. And maybe that's, a criticism of what Jed Hoyer put together, right? But I don't think they're going to find a closer. So to fix the bullpen, it seems really simple, but like David Ross has to figure out which guys fit in the best situations and how he can deploy them. And it's still might not be enough, because you know what, bullpens are a roller coaster in themselves, especially when it's a bullpen that's kind of slapped together like the Cubs are. When you talk about fixing the bullpen, like, it's going to be tough, because that's the roster that they have isn't. I don't know if they can put together like a top 7 bullpen in the major leagues, right? It's going to be. You're going to have nights like this with this kind of bullpen, because you don't have very many, like, I trust this guy wholeheartedly to go out and get the job done. You don't really have that, because a lot of these guys aren't that proven as relievers.
I agree with what Ryan's saying in the chat. Doug says, I mean, how does a GM come up with the idea that you go north without a lefty in the pen, or that a major league pen only needs at one most lefty? Come on. And Christian says, Jed in the front office got cocky after developing and flipping Efros. Here's to piggyback off of what Ryan is saying. I looked at the offseason moves and I saw Boxberger, Fulmer, Merriweather. Now, those didn't super excite me, but the idea behind them was they look like solid enough possibilities based on what the Cubs have been able to do with some of those guys in the past. Veteran arms, right? So it's the David Robertsons that they've been able to flip. Chris Martin, like, you can go back and see sort of a track record where they got these guys and flipped them, but the idea was mix those guys with the young arms coming up. Now, not necessarily having the closer set, like we said, and not necessarily having stud free agent guys, but kind of more mid-level free agent arms that seemed like they might be dependable. I don't disagree with the lefty thing, but Boxberger, Fulmer, and Merriweather, to some degree, each has been fairly disappointing compared to some of the other free agents, veteran free agents that they've had in the last couple of years they've been able to turn. Now, for one, we're worried about a bullpen. Maybe the Cubs have been a little bit fortunate the last couple of years in the way they've been able to turn that around and flip guys. Remember, they've been unloading relief pitchers left and right. So every time they get a guy that's been somewhat good, they're jettisoning him out, trying to get prospects for him in the offseason or at the trade deadline. So that's one problem. It's not like they haven't had good relievers. They've had some guys that have been successful. They've just decided to ship them out and try to stock and reload. Well, maybe this is the year where stocking and reloading doesn't work if you didn't pick the right free agent guy. So that could be problem number one. Brendan tweeted out some information about strikeouts per 9 innings, walks per 9 innings, and it shows the guys aren't outrageously bad, except for that Keegan Thompson is the worst of that list with 6.8 strikeouts per 9 innings to 5.9, I believe, walks per inning. That's the second thing that has been surprising, is that Keegan has struggled. So I don't know if moving ALLCITY to closer, while I said that last night, is the right move. I just think right now ALLCITY is the guy you have to use whenever you think the game is on the line, whenever that is. I don't know if that necessarily means closer. It might break your heart an inning later. Somebody might break your heart an inning later, but I think whenever David Ross believes the game is on the line, ALLCITY currently is the guy to use. As for the bullpen, it's always a crapshoot. We thought the Cubs had figured out some super plan, right, Cody? That's what you always say, like they figured it out. Or they sort of figured it out and they got maybe fortunate. Is that the way we're starting to lean this season? Or is it still, can we still turn it around for them?
I think that they can turn it around. It's just, they're going to need some reinforcements. Now, the big thing that concerns me about the reinforcements is none of those guys are in David Ross's circle of trust. I mean, I've been screaming for Jeremiah Estrada to just get an opportunity in a tie game, a lead, anything. I mean, I think the closest I've gotten is the Cubs being down 2 runs in the 6th or 7th inning. So everyone in like Gary, I keep seeing in the chat, keeps saying Cam Sanders. You think Cam Sanders is going to come up and the Cubs are automatically going to put him in the 8th or 9th inning?
Yeah,
I doubt it. As much as I would like
pressure,
to
a lot of
see
pressure,
or whatever. Like, and as much as I would like to see him in a high leverage spot, not necessarily the 8th or the 9th inning to close, like that's just how things have been going with the guys that they've brought up from Iowa. Now, a guy that's in Iowa right now that could come up and really make an impact, I genuinely believe, is Javier Assad. And then with the way that this pitching staff, this bullpen is pitched, like I think you gotta use him in that and put him in a bullpen role, because they're just wasting time with him in Iowa with the start where you got Hendricks coming back. You still got Wesneski if Hendricks doesn't work out, and everyone else has been pitching well, or they've been good enough, right? So to me, you got to move the ass man to the bullpen, and whether it's in Thompson's role and you send Thompson to Iowa to get right, because that's kind of where I'm at right now, or whatever. Like that's probably my first thing that I would do on Friday if I was the Cubs, is to get Assad on this roster. But yeah, all these other dudes like Cam Sanders and all, like I want them to get the opportunity with the Cubs. It's will they use them in high leverage spots though? And I don't think that they would just automatically throw them into the fire like that. They haven't with Estrada. They haven't done it with anyone else. So at the end of the day, right now, when you talk about this bullpen, the biggest thing that has been disappointing to me is Thompson not building off last year, and your free agent signings and Fulmer and even Boxberger to some extent just haven't worked out. Is that on Tommy Hotovy? Is that on David Ross? Is that on I don't know. I don't blame me for believing in it whenever the Cubs had shown for 3 consecutive years that they could just patch a bullpen together and put it and figure it out. Like the bullpen was the one big success from last year outside of Nico Hoerner and a few other guys on offense. Like that's not like some insane take. That's the facts. So I don't know, man. Like it's a tough situation, but I do think Javier Assad should be put in this bullpen Friday.
Yeah, well, the issue with that is he just went back down, so he can't be brought back up for like another 9 days or something like that.
Really? Is that a rule?
That's a rule. Yeah, that's what I was talking about yesterday with the options issues. Is not only does he have a limited amount of options, but when you option a guy down, I think it's like 15 days for pitchers, 10 for hitters, that they have to stay in the minor leagues before they can be brought up, unless they're replacing an injured, they're replacing an injury. So I don't know, like Gary talks about Gary talks about phantom injuries all the time. Maybe that's a way to get Assad back up. But I'm saying as far as where everyone's sitting right now, that's the issue with Assad. Cam Sanders, I mean, he's got good stuff, but he's also walking guys at he's got 12.67 walks per 9 in Iowa. He 15.43 strikeouts per 9 is really good, but 12 walks per 9 innings in Iowa isn't great. And as much as I think he has like a major league future based on things that people I've talked to, like Cam Sanders does project like he could be up at some point this year. He's a rookie. He'd be a rookie coming from AAA, no major league experience. And it's just the same thing with like a Mervis type. Like you're asking a lot for a guy to come up and have really big success in important situations out of the gate. That's just me talking, but we've seen with Ross with some of these rookie pitchers, they have to kind of earn his trust in situations. So like you said, Cody, is Cam Sanders going to come up and immediately be put in 8th, 9th inning, close situations, safe situations? No, he's going to be put in some low leverage innings. And if he's walking a bunch of guys there, that's not earning, David Ross's trust. So that for those two guys, that's one of the things that some of the, I don't know, maybe playing devil's advocate or just bringing the other side of the argument for why it's hard to rely on guys It's hard to rely on guys that aren't even on the roster right now to come in and clean things up. Guys that are sitting in the minor leagues right now to come in and clean things up, when obviously a guy like Javier Assad hasn't done enough to warrant a season-long spot on the major league roster. Even though he's been solid in some outings, he's been bad in a couple outings. Yeah, he hasn't done enough to warrant sticking on the major league roster for the long haul. That's what I mean. They're playing the options game with him. Cam Sanders probably will eventually get that call up, but he also, especially when you look at the walks and what that says about his maybe command issues or control, like that he has to get better at that, because you can't be walking a ton of guys in AAA and then come up to the major league and expect those to just go away.
I want to see Estrada pitch more. And I know we're talking about David Ross here, but I would like to see Estrada pitch more, and I want to see Birdie get another chance soon, because the first one, obviously, the guy's amped up. He's had this long road back where he hasn't pitched in 2 years. He's a Chicago area kid. Of course, the excitement's going to be a lot for him to handle in that very first outing with the Cubs. So I want to see him put out there again, get another opportunity. Do you think it's more likely that Boxberger, Fulmer, Merriweather, 2 of those 3 guys turn it around and become a key to the bullpen? Or do you think it's more likely that Estrada, Cam Sanders, and Cody Hoerner, 2 of those 3, turn into a key piece of the bullpen the rest of the season? Which one is more likely? Because I will say this, if it's the young guys, then what are we waiting for? Yeah. But if you believe the young guys have a better chance to do it than the older guys, then I want to start to see the flip to future as opposed to current. I'd like to see that experiment begin sooner rather than later. I don't know that that's the answer, but what do you guys think? If you had to just very quickly say, all right, it's the young guys or the old guys that will help fix the bullpen the rest of the season, which will it be?
Right now, I'd probably lean on the veterans right now, just because I don't know if they, like, even when Cody Hoerner comes back, like, will they use him in high leverage spots right away? He hasn't pitched in over a year. So by the time that they do get high leverage spots, where are the Cubs? Are they still in it? You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, listen, before Monday, or actually before the Twins series, Michael Fulmer had been fine in the middle relief role. Like he had some good outings in the middle relief role. He has been a roller coaster, like we said, but he's been a lot better in that middle relief role than the closer, Boxberger. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm hoping that this IL stint, when he comes back, it helps him. And Merriweather, he's been, like I said a few days ago, I think maybe last week even, since like the first couple weeks of the year, they start using him in low leverage only, and he, had some good outings in mop-up duty, and then they start using him in, like, down 2 runs, down 1 run situations, and he'd been fine. And I think his last 2 outings have been kind of a mess, though, so I don't know, but, like, he started to show that he could be better, but I just don't know. So, to me, right now, like, for the immediate future, Fulmer's the only one that, at least in the middle relief role, I feel somewhat good about. Obviously, he can't give up home runs, and he can't walk guys, but we've seen him have some decent innings. The thing for me, it's just finding out where do you use guys. Like, I understand the Cubs don't have a closer, as Ryan says, like a bona fide closer, but like, at what point does it come to who do you trust at the end of the game? You know what I mean? Like, at this point, ALLCITY is the only one that we can all trust in the 9th inning, because he's the one who has the most swing and miss. I know he's better against righties than he is lefties. So I guess in a way I'd understand if the lineup, if they're going to the 9th inning and there's only lefties coming up for whatever team, I could understand if they used ALLCITY in the 8th inning, if there was a bunch of righties instead, kind of like what happened last night when they used a lighter in the 8th inning because of lefties coming up and he's better against lefties. And they used Thompson in the 9th inning just because, I don't know, various reasons. But They need these veteran dudes to be better. They just do. And like that was the thing these last few years that they were, whether it was Martin, who's the other guy that they sent to the Mets? I forgot his name. Michael Givens, Robertson. Like these were all veteran dudes they brought in last night. They were nails. And so they got to get those guys right. At least two of the three of them, they have to at least get them right. And then if they can get them right, then you can start talking about some of these young dudes. And as they come up and are able to get some innings, major league innings under them, then you can start to put them in high leverage spots. As much as I want the Cubs to win, I don't want the Cubs to call up Cam Sanders and then them just automatically throw him in the 8th or 9th inning. As much as I would get up to see it and get excited to see it, if it fails, if it fails, it is honestly, it's a bad look on the organization, on David Ross, everyone, for even putting him in that situation when he has no major league experience. So they need the veterans to be better. They need some of these other guys. They need Brandon Hughes to really be healthy and to, step into the role that he was last year. And they need Leiter to continue to be what he has been. So it's a lot to ask, I know, but like that's the state of the bullpen. Those guys know that they have to be better. They have to not give up runs when you lead 6-1. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, Gary in the chat would like to see Luke Little get a shot from the minor league system. I've seen Niren on Twitter saying he would like to see Nick Pivetta traded from the Red Sox as he was moved to the bullpen. So that's an arm he'd like to see the Cubs add a different way as a trade piece. So those are a couple ways we've kind of mixed around ideas for trying to fix the bullpen.
The Angels DFA'd Ryan Tepera.
Ryan Tepera is available.
Could we bring him back? I don't know.
Maybe we found a way to fix the bullpen. We'll try and fix the offense in the next segment. But first, Cody, I want you to try and fix our wardrobe with a little Pins and Aces love.
All right. Pins and Aces is one of my favorite brands, guys.
I think he's got the hat on right now. If you're not
wearing the hat right now. I wore it on the show last night too. It's the official golf apparel partner of ALLCITY and CHGO. We love our Pins and Aces gear and get tons of compliments on and off the course. They are family owned. They are a family-owned golf and apparel business. They make amazing polos, hats, golf bags, and even our favorite beer sleeve, an innovative product that allows you to store 7 beers right inside your golf bag and keep drinks cold the entire round. Check out pinsandaces.com and use code CHGO to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com. And with it getting warmer, I'm looking forward to wearing the Hawaiian that I got there.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, and today, if you go outside, it's a nice day for that dry fit hoodie you've got too.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah,
that's very nice.
Barbara asked if I'm a golfer only at bachelor parties that I've been invited to. I like to ride the golf cart and drink beer. That's when I'm a golfer.
Well, I mean, the golf cart's one of the best parts of the game. There's no question about that. The excitement of a good golf cart.
Do I go around and swing it around and stuff on a regular basis? No.
I tell you what you should be doing. Going around with Fubo TV on your phone or your tablet or on your television at home. 140 plus live channels of sports, shows, movies, and news. Stream live TV from any device. You can watch the most Chicago sports for the lowest price. You can start watching right away, too, with their 7-day free trial that's going on right now. No contract, no cable, no hassle. Just sign up and start watching right away. You also get 1,000 hours of cloud DVR service that's included at no extra charge. Start watching your local teams while you're traveling, maybe on a vacation this summer, or if you're just heading out to do some things outside of the house, you want to take it with you while you go run some errands, the game's with you right there. Right now, you could be watching the PGA Championship with your Fubo TV. I saw that Rory's off to a good start there. You've got the French Open coming up. And, of course, you can watch the Cubs on Marquee Network with Fubo TV. Use the link in the description to sign up for 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. All right, we fixed the bullpen, maybe.
Somewhat.
As much as we could in one day, we've tried to give some ideas for fixing the bullpen. Now we got to try and fix the offense. Now, 6 runs, like Cody said, 6 runs last night should be enough to get you a win. However, in previous games, it's pretty much been just Christopher Morel. We've seen some good signs. Here's something. Nico expected to be back on Friday against the Phillies. Nico Hoerner got injured running from second to third. The Cubs, since he pulled up lame, are 2-7. Do I think that's a coincidence? I do not. I think he's that. I'm not saying the record is flipped and they're 7-2 with Nico in the game, but I think he's that important, A, to the lineup, and I think he's that important, B, defensively. I think he's one of the 2 or 3 most valuable players on the roster, and I just don't think that's even debatable. So can the return of Nico help spark the Cubs out of this slump? Can it overcome some of the problems they've been having?
I'll say this, that most of Nico being on the IL, Nick Madrigal was playing in his spot, and he wasn't playing well. So in a way, you can say having Nico not at the top of the lineup was detrimental to the offense for sure. And obviously he's a better defensive player than Madrigal as well. Mastrobuoni gets a chance last night, 3 walks and a double, better at bats. He even had some really nice defensive plays as well. That's all I'll say about that. But you insert Nico back in this lineup, you're definitely going to have better defense up the middle, and you're definitely going to have a bigger threat in your line and at the top of your lineup for sure. As much as Morel's been great there, I think we all would like to see Morel, whether it's stay in the leadoff or maybe bat second. Maybe he's better in the middle of the order, like batting 6th, 5th, or 6th, right behind Seiya and Bellinger. I don't know with Morel. Like, we saw him walk last night. That was great. It was a great at bat. The one strikeout he had was bullshit. It was because the umpire missed a call. Like, if he can give you at bats anywhere close to the ones he gave you last night, then I don't mind him up there at the top. But I also like him at the top because of what he brings, and like, you want to get that kind of guy as many bats as you can. So I think you still got to go with Nico back at the top lineup when he comes back, but at the same time, I'm not against it if they just went Morel and then just went Nico, Swanson, Happ, Suzuki, Bellinger, or whatever, something like that. Like, I'm not against it either. But yeah, I mean, adding Nico to this lineup will make this offense a lot better, no doubt.
And I think you hope so. I mean, he hadn't had a great May, even going before that, injury. He had a 48 WRC plus in May, so it's not a small sample. Like, I'm not saying he was like a bad player. He was a little bit of a slump. Same with like Cody Bellinger was in a little bit of a slump before that, the injury the other day, since the calendar flipped. So, but I'm not saying Nico wouldn't have improved the lineup or even like flipped it right the next day, right? It's just that's kind of where he was before he got hurt. So now you hope that when he comes back, like, he's a little bit maybe in a better situation. He starts to find it at the plate a little bit more. To the Morel thing, I'm going to be honest, like, I don't, until he proves to me that his at-bats yesterday he can be consistent like that, because I think he did have pretty good at-bats overall yesterday. He wasn't chasing a whole lot. Like, there was some pitches that on a different day he may be chasing out of the zone that he didn't do that a whole lot yesterday. So I will say his at-bats were better yesterday. Until he can prove that that's a consistent thing, I don't want him at the top of the lineup, just because if you're the strikeout rate, again, it's the strikeout rate that like, if I'm David Ross, I don't want hitting leadoff, because strikeouts don't do you any good. Even if you are hitting 1 home run out of 5 at bats, if you're hitting a home run but striking out 4 times, that's not really what you want in a leadoff hitter. And especially with a guy with raw power like Morel, you probably want him on when guys are going to be on. So you probably want him in that like fifth hole or something. I think that'd actually be a pretty solid spot for him once Nico comes back. And we'll see. I think they've said Nico's on track to come back for Friday, and I think they're still hopeful that Bellinger is ready to go. He was hitting yesterday from reports out of Houston that he was hitting. I think he took BP. So the lineup should be a little more filled out on Friday of the guys that they want in there, guys what they want starting every day. And then you kind of plug in Morel, I think, right behind that little clump of like Swanson, Happ, Suzuki, even Bellinger, and for one, it hides him a little bit in the sense that he's not expected to take the most plate appearances. He doesn't have to feel like he needs to hit a home run every single time he's up. But then you're also putting him in a spot where he's probably going to have a couple guys on. And if he gets a hold of one, like, he's showing off that power. And instead of a solo shot, he's hitting like a 3-run home, which The Cubs would obviously like those a little bit more. So I'm kind of with you in that. I think adding Nico to this lineup, even though he had been struggling to start May, like he's the leadoff hitter that they've been looking for, and he was that all of April. Before he got hurt, he was the leadoff hitter they wanted. And losing him obviously hurts for a guy that is going to put the ball in play. Was getting on base at a huge clip because he was hitting the ball so well. That's adding that to the top of your lineup obviously doesn't hurt, and it should improve the Cubs at least at the top of the order and what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I'd rather have if Morel's in the lineup, I'd rather have him lower in the lineup where he can drive in some runs. I mean, I agree that Nico has been a great leadoff guy. Like, I'm fine with Nico, Dansby, Happ. It's afterwards where you have to start to figure some things out about where guys should be in the lineup. And I know that people have said in the chat, and I don't disagree with this, that on a great team, like if you're a World Series contending team and you have a lineup like the Astros, that Dansby's probably not your number 2 hitter. Dansby might be 5 or 6. He might be further down the lineup. Well, they need to get to that point. Right now, I like Nico and Dansby 1, 2, and I'd leave him there for almost most of the season. Again, Happ also probably would be hitting in a different position on a team that's ready to win the World Series. Dustin Allen with a super chat saying, a mountain I'll die on. Happ needs to bat leadoff. Nico second. Dansby needs to be moved further back to help the back. Happy belated birthday, Cody. Also, if you enjoy this podcast, hit the like button. If you don't like the podcast, hit the like button. And if you like the dog that has moved into the back of Cody's live shot at home, go ahead and hit the like button. Either way, we like it. I saw a dog. Isn't that a dog back there?
That is a dog.
Around?
Yeah. It's a dog we're watching right now. His name is Valentino.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Here's Mike. I wanted to circle back on what we talked about earlier this week about Morel, because Morel's a little bit of a polarizing player in that I think in general most people love him. But the results from Morel offensively with the home runs and the strikeouts and the energy, those 3 put in one side, and then defensively there's the versatility / will he ever have a position? Like there's a lot of different factors to Christopher Morel playing on your team. Now, I think he's a great guy to have in your dugout, and I think he's a great guy to have up at the major league level. The question is, will he ever have a position? Will he ever? Currently, we wanted to always describe him, because we're Cubs fans, as the future Ben Zobrist. I don't know if defensively, if he's ever going to be Ben Zobrist. Ben Zobrist was average to above average at multiple positions. That's what made him, not only was he this clutch hitter, but he was an above average defender at multiple places you could play him on the field. That's what made him so special. I don't know if Morel's athletic ability will ever translate into exactly that. The hope is that it will, right? So if he doesn't have an exact position, because we don't think second's going to be available, and we don't think short's going to be available. Definitely Third doesn't appear to be his best position. Center doesn't appear to be his future position, with PCA coming and Bellinger there now. So if he doesn't have a defined position moving forward, is it worth finding that out this season? Like, is it worth finding out? Is it worth sacrificing a few boots in center field and mistakes over at third base? And is it worth finding that out this year? Even if it costs you, Brendan doesn't want to hand away 2 or 3 games. And I understand that thinking, because everybody's sick of losing.
Well, listen,
is it worth finding out that answer this season?
That was also the argument to bring him up, right? To bring him up because you don't want to give away multiple games. You want the optimal roster, the optimal lineup, whatever. That was
and I think you can swing that both ways.
Well, that's
now,
what I'm saying. A lot
might make up for those errors. I get that too.
But that was a lot of the reason people were saying to bring him up. But now he's up. You can't just you can't DH him every day. Like, I think the DH really helps with all that. With Morel being up, I think the DH allows him to be in the lineup every day, even if you don't want him in the field, or you have better defenders in the field, whatever. But yeah, like you said, if he's supposed to be this versatile defender, and this is what we said on Monday, I think it was, when that play in left field. If he's supposed to be this versatile defender that can play a bunch of different positions, he's gonna have to play a bunch of different positions, and he's gonna have to prove that he can't. And you mentioned him booting one in center field. They didn't count they didn't count that as an error last night, so that helped me in my who you got.
Right.
Win.
But I mean, the eye test tells you it wasn't a good play. The play
Yeah,
in
no,
left
it
field
wasn't.
the other day wasn't a good play.
It wasn't. But at some point, he's going to have to play all of these positions, and that's what people don't. Yeah. So the other side of the coin is like you said, do you want to put him at these positions he may not be the best at and risk a couple more losses on the season? Well, if he's up, he has to play, right? Yeah, if he's up and he's supposed to be, and you're touting him as a versatile defender that can play a bunch of different positions, he has to play a bunch of different positions, and it may cost you a game. I don't know that the Morel, the boot in center field yesterday didn't cost him because they doubled him they doubled whoever it was in the next
Right.
at bat. But I mean, it may eventually, but that's kind of that balance and that risk you're taking of having him up and wanting him to be able to play and be like this fourth outfielder while also being able to play like three infield positions, right? Like that's the risk you're going to take on with having Morel and not really having a set position with him.
Well, Craig says, I don't understand why he can't DH every day. What do you think?
I want to go back to what you said, Luke, where you said he hasn't made he's not been the best at third. We haven't really seen that this year. He hasn't played third at all this year. Now, last year, yeah, he had a throwing problem. I would like to see if it's improved. To me, with Nico coming back and if Bellinger's in the lineup on Friday, you put this guy at third base or DH. If that's to me, that's where he's playing every other day. If the matchup isn't good for Wisdom tomorrow against Philly, then you put Christopher Morel at third base and see what happens, because the guy, at least he brings power, he has speed, everything that you honestly want in a third baseman at this point. And if the matchup is good for Wisdom, then yeah, put him in the DH. I'm not saying do it every day. I'm saying just those are, to me, for this season, for this team, at this given moment, he should be third base or DH. That's it. And if things don't go well in terms of the team and the trade deadline comes and they flip Bellinger, all right, you want to play him in center the rest of the year or a lot more? Fine, whatever. If an injury happens, God forbid, knock on wood, and you got to play him in left or right, then then you can use him there. But at this given moment, at this time, when you're 5 games under 500, to me, Christopher Morel should be playing third base or DH, and that's it. Or if you want to give Swanson or Nico an off day, and Swanson doesn't want an off day, and Nico, I know he's going to be coming back from this hamstring thing. Maybe he can't play every single day. Like, to me, it's third base, second base, or DH. And I get it. This is the year that you need to learn if he can do some of that. But at the same time, you got put him in spots where you feel like he's best to succeed. I'm surprised we have not seen him play any third yet, but I do know he came up right before Nico hit the IL. So now that Nico's going to be coming back, that third base position is opening up for him, because even when he wasn't here, it's not like Wisdom was playing third base every day. Now, how much better is is Wisdom defensively than Morel? I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm willing to find out if he can play a solid third base. And honestly, the biggest issue with him last year was just being able to throw accurately to first base when he made a play over there. So
right.
that's where I'm at with Morel defensively, at least. But you got to find a way to get this guy in the lineup every day, man.
I think they need to, and this is what I said when he came up, I think they need to shrink his availability, not to playing time. I think they need to shrink where they're trying to scatter him all over the field. I think it's the best thing for him. I know what Ryan is saying. They want him to be the super utility Swiss Army knife.
Well, and right? I'm not even saying that's what they should be doing. I'm saying that's what they are doing. And so, like, who was it, Craig or someone that said, why can't he DH every day? He can't, because that's not the role they want him in right now.
Right.
Like that's really why.
I think that's a mistake. I think what they need to do is find a finer focus for what they really want him to do moving forward. Don't just say he's going to be the next Ben Zobrist, because I don't think he is the next Ben Zobrist. But can you find a guy that has this energy and has this bat? If his best position is third base, first of all, I agree with Cody. I would put him at two places, DH and third base, and he and Wisdom would be flipping back and forth. I wouldn't see Hosmer at DH. You might maybe Mancini's the third guy, so there's another guy that can play first base / DH. Now you have three guys that can play DH. Fine, I'm okay with all three of them being a DH in the Cubs lineup because I think they all offer one thing: power, which is good. So the Cubs, I believe, think that his best defensive work comes up the middle. The problem with that is they believe if you had to say Morel's best defensively at these positions, they would say short, second, and center. That's what the Cubs believe. The problem is those three positions are taken. They're taken, guys. So if you want to get them playing time at those three positions, fine, but they're going to be few and far between. Those need to be like 2 games at second base this season, 2 games at short this season, 4 games in center this season. It doesn't need to be once a week he's playing center, once a week he's playing. That's not going to happen. So for me, like Cody, third base, DH, and then occasionally sprinkle him to one of those other spots.
Yeah. It'd be more as a way to like give those other guys days off. Yeah.
Right.
Well, but that's where I'm saying is, I agree too. Like, I think we said that when he got option to AAA, like if he's going to be down there, I want him playing a lot of third base.
Yes.
Because that may be that's one, that was a place where he struggled last year. But 2, that's like, as far as open position goes, that's the most open position on the Major League roster. It's still third base, I think. But the problem is, like, what you brought Morel up. Maybe they envisioned when they brought him up being able to play him at third. I don't know. But then, like you said, Cody, Nico got hurt, so he had to play second. They needed Hap to get that day off in left field on Monday. That's why he had to play left. Like, we don't know why Hap needed the day off. I just know that David Ross said Hap needed the day to DH. And so they put Morel on left, and then Bellinger got hurt, and then you needed him to play center. And that's why he hasn't played third base, I think, is because he's been needed to fill in elsewhere. Moving forward, I want to see him play more third base because, again, that's a position that if he has made the right adjustments and has improved, like, he could actually stick there. But again, it goes back to the role they've brought him up, whether you agree or disagree with it, whether I agree or disagree with it. The role they brought him up is he's going to be this guy that can play a bunch of different positions that will need to fill in. And maybe it's been unlucky for him that he just came up at a time when he does need to fill in all those positions, where Nico Hoerner is hurt and needs to fill in, where Cody Bellinger does, tweak his knee and needs a couple days off or 3 days off, whatever it is. So that's maybe the situation, unfortunately, that Morel came up in. But yes, moving forward, if the lineup is healthy, I would like to see him getting a lot of time at third base because, again, that's like from this situation and beyond, feels like the most open position where he could actually win it.
Yeah. And like Craig's saying, that means Madrigal might be playing less. But if I have 2 options at third base, my 2 options are Wisdom and Morel. And Madrigal, if he's on the roster, is a distant third in that opportunity, not because he hasn't played decent third base. It's just that I think the team needs pop. They need home runs, and he doesn't provide that. He will never provide that. Where the other 2 guys will give you more strikeouts. They'll give you more strikeouts, but they're going to give you home runs. Well, yeah. I'll tell you where you get pop, Cody, where you get your bang for your buck. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program. That's a sure thing at any position.
I mean, yeah, with those bright lights we have in studio, all thanks to ComEd, of course. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve, helping manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future.
That's right. ComEd offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across the territory. ComEd also offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, like for HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes.
Really, Luke? How does it work?
Well, Cody, I'm glad you asked that. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. They can be done in person, or they can be done virtually if you want. They last about 2 hours. And then within 3 to 4 weeks, customers start to receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project costs, potential incentives, and simple payback. If you own a business, this is something you want to look into. Don't wait on it either. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy-saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule your free facility assessment, go to ComEd.com/poweringbiz.
ComEd.com/poweringbiz, Luke.
That's it, Cody. Schedule it today.
Oh, boy.
I'm glad Barbara said it in the chat, but for anyone that's not in the chat, I'll repeat it. But she did say, she reminded everyone, while looking at those ComEd lights, don't forget to wear your Shady Rays.
The godmother of CHGO Cubs Podcast.
There you go. Take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. There's durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection program in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase. Together with their customers, Shady Rays is providing much-needed support to nonprofit partners across the U.S. through Shady Rays Impact. From building play sets for pediatric cancer patients to providing young adults with MS the outdoor adventure of a lifetime, Shady Rays is making an impact in your community and others like it now and for years to come. If you don't love your Shady Rays, exchange for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. I got a pair right here real quick. The brown ones. I think it's like brown timber or something like that.
Whoa. Those new? Did you get another pair?
I've had these ones, but these are the ones that
pair.
I wear the black ones. I have the black ones, the black timber. I wear them into the office and I wear them when I'm like driving and stuff. But I put these on when I'm just feeling cool, I'm feeling cool. I put my Shady Rays on.
Our graphic on the screen is basically the ones I have.
Those are very California. Very California.
They don't call me Ryan California.
For no reason. Got.
They call you Ryan California, apparently, huh?
No
longer Hawaiian Herrera.
Allie Ryan.
Before we do this last segment, just really quick, like I'm looking at the Cubs matchup on Friday. They're facing they're in Philadelphia. It's Stroman versus Ranger Suarez. Suarez is a left-handed pitcher. So to go back to the Morel thing, like it's a even more perfect reason that he's going to be in the lineup tomorrow. In even wisdom as well. And so I'm interested to see how they not only make the lineup, but also positionally how they do wisdom and Morel if Nico plays tomorrow, which I assume he will play tomorrow if he's going to be activated. And the same thing with Bellinger. This is all assuming that both those guys are back. So left-handed pitcher, you got a left-handed pitcher with a 6.75 ERA starting for the Phillies tomorrow is a perfect reason to put Wisdom and Morel in the lineup. And if Nico and Bellinger are back, I think you might see the most optimal lineup that you want to see tomorrow. Maybe you sit Mervis because it's a lefty, right, and you insert Mancini at first base. Then like that's the only thing that might be different, because personally I really only want to see Mervis against righties for the most part. Now, if they see something in that matchup that benefits Mervis, fine. I'm fine with that. I want to see Mervis play too, but I just wanted to throw that out there because that's the one silver lining I'm taking into tomorrow, is that we might finally see the full optimal lineup for this season for this team to starting tomorrow. If guys are healthy.
We had a super chat earlier.
Yeah, Michael. Morel needs to be the primary DH and fill in as needed on defense. Morel and Wisdom are basically the same hitter, but Wisdom's better on defense. Bring up Velasquez, send down Madrigal. I think there's a lot of people on Cubs Twitter and also in our live chat here on YouTube that I would think they agree with Michael. I don't think those are
I don't necessarily agree with the primary DH thing, but I think he's on the right path in terms of just like third base specifically. And then I do think that Madrigal should go down and they should keep Mastroboni up because he's shown more value the last day. And Mastroboni's done more the last day than Madrigal's done the last week. I'm just being honest with you. And I don't know if you bring Velasquez up, because I don't know if he's going to be able to get consistent at bats, but maybe it's a reliever. Maybe I don't know. But I understand the basis that he's coming from. So I somewhat agree with what he's saying.
All right. You guys know that I like to occasionally do mystery players, right? I did a Ronald Acuna last year versus Seiya Suzuki last year, and they were very similar. I've got two players here. Player A, 1.6 WAR, 269 batting average, 368 on base percentage, 3 homers, 116 WRC plus. Player B, 0.8 WAR, 262 batting average, 308 on base percentage, 4 home runs, WRC plus of 88. Who are the two players?
I wish we had them written down somewhere so I could actually
So
compare
here's the
them
comparison.
side by side.
One guy has basically double the WAR. One is 0.8. The other guy is 1.6. The batting average is only 7 points different. Home runs are 1 point different. And the guy who has 7 point higher batting average also is 60 points higher for on base percentage. The WRC plus is 88 versus 116.
It's 116. Is that Swanson?
It's Dansby Swanson.
Swanson and who? That'd be Correa?
Trey Turner.
Trey
The
Turner.
guy he's about to go up against. So you're looking at it head to head. One guy was signed for 7 years, $177 million. The other guy, who everybody wanted and signed for 11 years, $300 million, is actually off to a slower start than Dansby Swanson. Now, there's been some people questioning whether or not Dansby was overvalued if he's not hitting 25 home runs so far this season. He's got 3. Well, guys, I guarantee you the Phillies thought that Trey Turner was going to have more than 4 home runs, especially after the World Baseball Classic, where he was the best player on Team USA. But right now, and it's early, returns are super early when you're talking about 7 years and 11 years. Right now, Dansby looks like an absolute steal in that comparison.
Yeah.
And I know it's a small sample size. I'm just saying I've seen some people in the chat that are down on Dansby, and just because he's only got 3 home runs, I don't see it. I think Dansby Swanson's been everything you wanted him to be this season.
The question I have here for our stats guy, Luke Stuckmeyer, is the WAR, is it B WAR or is it F WAR?
It's from Fangraphs.
Oh, you went to Fangraphs WAR. Okay.
Boom.
Wow, look at you.
Mind blown.
Now, the thing that surprised me the most there is the on-base percentage. Like, Trey Turner's just been an on-base machine his entire career. He batted leadoff multiple years for so many good teams, and to see it down to 308, that is surprising. So yeah, it seems like he's off to
4 home runs is surprising to me. In fact,
I hear you.
The other thing that was surprising is when I started, what I thought of. Here's how I got down that path comparing the two. I wanted to do it when they played the Twins and faced Correa, but I started looking at the Phillies, and they're 20-23. They've lost 4 in a row coming into tonight, and then I started thinking, well, Bryce Harper wasn't there. He's only played 13 games. Look at the Phillies. All the money the Phillies have spent, a team that went to the World Series, okay?
Yep.
They're tied for 19th in runs scored, and they're 20th in home runs hit this season. That was shocking to me because they're all hitting. The team was built to just outscore teams, right?
Yeah. Home run or bust.
They're not doing it. They're doing it worse than the Cubs are, who we're concerned will never have enough offense, even if the pitching does come around to make the postseason. The Cubs are ranked 9 spots higher in home runs than the Phillies are this season. And so then I thought to myself, well, how many home runs does Trey Turner have? He's only got 1 more than Dansby, who everybody says is overpaid because he only got 3 home runs. How would you feel about Trey Turner? Be perfectly honest with you, I'd have been thrilled if they signed Trey Turner, but $300 million was a lot of dough. Right now, Dansby's having a better season.
Yeah,
there you go, P. Will supporter. We've talked about Dansby, and we showed you why you shouldn't be worried about him. I don't know. I'm impressed that I picked out Dansby in that bunch.
It was the WRC.
I need more love for that.
Was it WRC? Or was it the 3 home runs?
Well, I knew his WRC plus was like around that 120-ish range. I don't know. It just popped in my head. But I also knew like he was getting on base at a really, really high clip, even though the hits may not be there. Like so the batting average versus on base percentage. I knew the gap was a little wider than you might think.
I think
because he was taking a lot of walks.
Turner's numbers are the shocking numbers, right? It's not Dansby's. Dansby seemed like, okay, 1.64, yada, yada, yada. But then you see a WAR that's half as high for a $300 million player who dominated the World Baseball Classic. His batting average is lower, his on-base percentage is lower, and he's only got one more home run.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm surprised that Turner's off to this slow start considering how he played at the World Baseball Classic. He was the best player for Team USA.
For sure.
The home runs, man.
I will say Gary had a good comment. He said regarding the Phillies offense, saying that, Rhys Hoskins is out with a torn ACL. He got hurt in spring training. He's a big part of their offense. And obviously Bryce Harper was out until the last week or two. So, I expect their offense to be better, no doubt. But I also I said this at the beginning of the year that my bold prediction was that the Phillies wouldn't make the playoffs. So I'm feeling pretty good about that right now. And their defense, I don't like it. And now with no shift and everything, I'm not afraid of them. So as bad as the Cubs are playing, losing 5 straight going into this series starting tomorrow, I feel good going with when you have Stroman and Steele for 2 of the 3. And hopefully Tyone can build off his last start, which, as we talked about on Monday, was pretty good. And if Morel catches that ball in left field,
looks better.
Maybe we all feel a lot different about Jameson Tyone, right? So I feel good about the 3 guys overall that the Cubs are throwing this weekend. And that should not be a surprise considering how the starting pitching has been. Now you have the optimal, you're likely going to have your optimal lineup. And the big question now is, will the bullpen blow it for you again if you get a lead late in this game? So that's I guess I'm ready to be hurt again by the bullpen. That's where I'm at. I think I'm excited to see what the lineup is tomorrow, and I'm excited to see Stroman on a bounce back start because he hasn't started since Sunday when they lost 16-3. It was awful. Didn't even make it through 3 innings. I'm looking forward to the bounce back.
All right. Sounds good. Have a great weekend, everybody. The next live podcast will be Corey and Brendan with the series recap after the Phillies and Cubs wrap up that series with, I believe, Steele's the last game of the series, right?
Mm-hmm. Steele should be on Sunday, yeah.
Steele will be on Sunday. So then we'll be back cranking out podcasts again next week. Hope you'll be there supporting us. We appreciate your support all the time. We had, we got 50 people still in there in the middle of the afternoon on an off day Thursday right now, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up. And until next time, don't forget, hang in there. Fly the W.